Okay, here we are back in the library again because the last time I had no sound. Let's see, Castle Skyrim. Sent to this frigid wasteland to catalog and study any of its indigenous cats, which has also been uneventful. After months of wandering, I have so far only encountered some variations of the same basic species. In my travels, I have encountered several katat, outcasts from the clans that have taken up residence in Skyrim. They have been mostly helpful, probably for fear I'd expose their location. Can't say I'm surprised that there are few Kahatis. I don't know. Here, it's cold and unwelcoming. Saber cats are basically giant cats that have evolved two dangerous sharp front teeth. The average saber cat has a reddish-brown fur, which it uses to blend into grassy regions, but I have observed them skulking and sleeping on rocks, so I don't believe the fur is for camouflage. The primary attacks of the saber cat are its biting attack, but it can also briefly rear up to attack with its front claws. I've also seen it pounce forward on its prey in a particularly powerful attack. The snowy version of the saber cat has spotted white fur, which I believe it uses more for stalking more than its cousins in the plains. The tooth of the cat is rumored to be useful in the portions that restore the inhibitor's stamina, as well as a potion that will temporarily give it more keen eye for smitten. And skillful hunter can usually salvage the pelts and teeth of the kill, but report that the meat is tasteless and not fit to eat. Interesting. Cats of Skyrim. Oh, Jesus. Stand over here. What's that? Investigate the ruins of Axakabla. What's this all about? Dedicated to Katrina. The end, when it came, was swift. In the span of 3 short years, the great dwarven cities of Skyrim, from Markarth to the Velothi mountains, fell before the armies of the High King. Cities that had held fast against the Nords for over 100 years crumbled abruptly without warning. For centuries, scholars have marveled at the sudden collapse of the Dormer city-states. Even the Nords seem to have been taken by the surprise, though their chroniclers were quick to ascribe their success to King Giller's inspired tactics and the blessings of Shore. Nah. My research suggests as much different cause, however. In the decades preceding their fall, the dwarven cities of Skyrim have been decimated by internal disputes and infighting over a most surprising cause, Ethereum. Modern scholars know Ethereum as a rare luminescent blue crystal found in some dwarven ruins. Most consider it little more than a curiosity, as it has proven all but impossible to work with. While it has a strong magical aura, it is alchemically inert, and no known process can enhance, smelt, mold, bind, or break it. To the dwarfs, of course, such problems were merely a challenge. In the years following the King Harold's reign, the Dormir discovered a considerable source of therium in their deepest dwellings. An alliance of 4 cities. Oops. An alliance of 4 cities lay by Elgaram, I can't pronounce that. The Great Research Center in the southern reach was formed to oversee its extraction, processing, and study, and a new Ethereum forge constructed to smelt it under precisely controlled conditions. If the inscription that I discovered were to be believed, the results were nothing short of spectacular. The items produced by the forge were artifacts of immense power, imbued with the momentum of from the moment of their creation with powerful enchantments. The Dwarven alliance shattered almost immediately as the 4 city-states and their rivals attempted to claim the forge. We can only speculate that none were successful. Decades of conflict nearly weakened them all, allowing the King Giller's subsequent conquest. And though the Dormir reclaimed most of their lands a century later, there's no evidence that they ever resumed their research on Ethereum. Perhaps the cost had just been too great. But nothing like the Ethereum forge described in the inscriptions had ever been found within the borders of Skyrim. It may have been destroyed long ago by the Nord invaders or the Dormir themselves, or perhaps it, like the secrets of Ethereum itself, still remains to be discovered. Olaf and Dragon. I already read this one.
I'm right behind you. What do you want me to carry?
Did I just take money from him?
I'll show you what I know.
Okay. Alright. Sweet.
What do you want me to carry?
Can you turn
I'll
me
show you what I know. What do you want me to carry? Let's get going then.
Restoration is a perfectly valid school of magic, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
You are now in the Arcanium, of which I am in charge. Disrupt my Arcanium. Now, do you require assistance?
Yes. What just happened?
Fight well. Hundreds of years have gone into assembling this collection. It's going to stay pristine, understand? I have a few things laying around that weren't worth adding to the collection. You may look through them. Until next time.
Where should we go?
Why am I You consider restoration a valid school of magic, worthy of study, don't you? Don't you? It's quite simple, really. There are some who shall not be dignified by being named, who have implied that it is not. That is to say, it's been suggested that resources used for my study of restoration could be put to better use. Any other use, in fact.
Probably.
It's not just healing cuts and bruises, you know. The undead are a very real, very dangerous threat, and restoration magics can keep them at bay. Not to mention the benefit of wards. How can they continually overlook wards? It's baffling. Take a look.
I should put that on.
Well, no, not really. Not directly, I mean. But I know things are being said behind my back. Conversations cease when I enter rooms. I'm quite aware of what's going on here, and I will not stand for it. All right, then.
Oh, weirdo.
Still here. All right, what is it? What do you need? Still need me to do something? What do you need? You lead, I'll follow. And I'm right behind you. What do you want me to carry?
Oh. Give him a few long bows. Oops. Nine. Okay. War axe. Should not feel it down. Ooh, yeah.
Lead on.
Here we go. Interesting. These killing before you're killed. Okay. So many a man rushed headlong into battle only to have their life cut short in an instant. I've been a trainer of warrior arts for many spans, cut from a class of great lineage, knights, blades, and even distant swords well as two. It is with this knowledge that I tried to pen a brief treatise on the subtle art of war. Not mage fire, not archery, but criminal throat slitting. Or criminal throat slitting, but war. Man on man with nothing but a fine bit of steel between them. The first thing you'll need to learn is how to block. The best way to not kill is not to let the other man hit you. Use a shield, use it well. Now you'll get tired from this. You may even get a little hurt, but a blocked blow is much better than a landed one. Over time you'll get better, eventually shrugging off even the mightiest hits. But beware, your foes, if they're not base cur bandits, will know how to counter you. They'll hit you with everything they've got in order to open you up and keep on hitting, so watch for these powerful attacks. While it's still better to absorb the impact with a quarter-inch of steel, it's best to try to just step out of the way. Remember, against spells, your blocking is useless until you're trained. So get up on mages quickly and let them eat steel. Deserves them right for using a witch weapon. You can also block without a shield as well. Just cross that bow with your sword, though it isn't nearly as effective. And if you decide you're fancy and want to wield two blades, you can't block at all, so you don't even try. Without both hands on the hilt, you just won't have the strength to counter blows. But with a weapon in each hand, you are much more likely to take your opponent down quickly. The best defense, some say. To wield the blade, there are some fundamentals. Quick strikes are always good, but can be repelled, so watch for your opponent's own defense posture. Wait for an opening or create one with your own heavy attacks. Hammer hits hardest, but are slow. Same with maces and blunt weaponry. Axes are a nice middle ground, while swords are the quickest but won't stagger your opponent as effectively with the hard hits. Keep an eye not to get too exhausted. Always try to save a little strength to counter blows or even run. Keep moving during a fight. Never let yourself get cornered or surrounded. Pick your threats. Weak spellcasters that can hurt you quick are the first thing I found. The shield is not only a defensive tool. Put your shoulder into it and bash your opponent. This sends them flying and opens up for quick counter assaults. Even better, put X-ray into it and power bash your opponent. If they're small, this will keep them on their knees. Bigger opponents cannot be staggered by heavy attacks. Only the power bash will really knock them around and create opening for you to exploit. So again, block, counter, bash. Hit them when they're down. They'll show no mercy, so why should you? Battle is about offense, about catching your foe early and never relenting. Keep moving, keep swinging. If you consider yourself overly powerful, pick up a two-handed weapon and see your foes fall before you like wheat stalks. They're slow and unwieldy, but they'll shatter bones and cleave flesh better than anything. Their graves are filled with many a mediocre swordsman. If you don't have the stomach for war, try a monk's work. But if you do travel the path of the warrior, learn the basics and keep your head firmly planted on your shoulders, or someone will bound to lop it off. Good advice. Chances fall. Welcome back to a shop, but sometimes you would. Check out this. Welcome, good sir, to Indivisible Guy. Within this page, a humble author and guide will describe to you the great city of Whiterun, the jewel of the north. I don't care about that. I have this one. It's my Iron Shield. Sure, a lot of books in here.
I don't want to see you treating any of these books poorly. Are we clear? Hundreds of years have gone into assembling this collection. It's going to stay pristine, understand? If you're feeling adventurous, I'm always looking for someone to procure valuable books from some more dangerous locations. Well, all right, here. I scribbled down the last place I'd heard about. Check it out, but be careful.
Cleansing the Fang.
Of course I do. If I didn't, most of these books would have been burned to ashes or dissolved to nothing before the Third Era. Mages need to be reminded to be careful around research materials. A mage is only as good as what he knows. I try to make sure as much knowledge is available as possible. We've been keeping this collection since the Second Era. Books have come and gone during that time, but it's mostly intact. As a matter of fact, there are. Have you ever heard of Shalador? Immensely powerful mage, back in the First Era. Had an understanding of magic few have ever matched. He holed himself up in Labyrinthian, and devoted all his time to research and study. But more than you would imagine possible. Since then, his writings have been scattered all over Skyrim, but are little use to anyone who can't translate them. I'm one of the few who can. I've heard whispers of more of his work having turned up. If you can track it down, it may prove useful to all of us. I don't want to see you treating any of these books poorly. Are we clear?
All right.
You know, they say knowledge is its own reward.
Where'd you come from?
You can see me?
Apparently.
But you can hear me, obviously. Something still isn't quite right. At least I'm making progress. So, you wish to master the arcane arts?
Oh, good. He will probably buy some of my shit. Let's see, I'll go back to...
Oh my, that's quite a difficult question. Never underestimate the ability to influence others. Whether they're friends or foes, they're almost all susceptible to illusion spells. They can turn the tide of a battle in a moment's notice. There are also spells that help in avoiding conflict altogether. Invisibility is tricky to master, but exceptionally useful. There may be a matter in which your skills could be useful. The various points of focus for magic energies around the college have become polluted and need cleansing. Very well. These specially enchanted gloves will allow you to delve directly into the focal points for these energies. Go to each focal point and remove whatever impurities you may find there. Return the gloves to me when you have finished. Please exercise caution. This is not a procedure without possible consequences.
cleanse the focal points.
Use the gloves to clear the focal points. Return to me when you have finished. I thought I made this rather clear. Mm-hmm.
What the hell happened to you there, buddy? I was about to sit down.
You know, they say knowledge is its own
Who says
reward.
no? You say? What are these gloves that you just gave me? Disruption cost. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Oh, looks like enough menu things. This one all down. Oh, find read red eagle sword. What's this? This tale was transcribed from the memory of student of Winterhold. Elements of the legend suggest date AD. As with any oral tradition, much of this is like a later occurring. Curious stories of similar kings and legends played in other ancient myths of the Reach. Long ago, a child was born in the Shunta Hills. They named him Florida, which means red eagle in the tongue of the Reach, for the screeching bird call that greeted his birth, and the crimson blooms on autumn hills. Thus began his legend, Reach Child, born under auspicious skies. His very name, the color of blood. 10 kings ruled the Reach in these days, and though men were free, these people were scattered and warred amongst themselves. Augurs foresaw the boy's destiny, a warrior without peer, first and foremost Lord of the Reach, chosen to unite it under his name. Farlorn grew in years and strength, and it seemed to be prophecy would be fulfilled. The bane of the Red Eagle was the rising among the cliffs of the Reach, and his people prospered. Then came Hestra, Empress of the South, riding to war. One by one the king stood before her. One by one they fell aside, bending knee in imperial bargain, were slaughtered in the battlefields. Her legions came at last to the Sunder Hills, and envoys were sent to bargain for their surrender. Galen refused to yield freedom for the freedom of his people, but the elders were afraid, cast him out, and accepted his imperial yoke. Thus was stolen by the foreign invader his land, his people, his very name. In the years followed, Red Eagle became known as the untamed spirit of the Reach, unbowed, unbroken, stained by the blood of his foes. He gathered royal Reachmen to himself. Holy crap, how long is this? Alright, never mind. I'll do this some other time.
Illusion really is the least appreciated of the schools of magic. Good day.
Let's see. Cleanse the focal points of a magical entry. Cleansing of the Fang. Special cleansing.
You know, they say knowledge is its own reward.
Look, or something.
Illusion really is the least appreciated of the schools of magic. If only I could be free of the mundane, day-to-day activities life so often requires.
Well then, I guess. Let's check down here. See what's down here.
What you learn here will last you a lifetime. Several if you're talented. It's no secret that the college's reputation in Skyrim is tainted. Please, don't do anything to anger the locals. They don't need additional reasons to hate us.
Another new apprentice, I see. Are you of the sort that believe you're here to change the world? Or are you only in it for yourself? I assure you that I shall be watching you, all of you, very closely. Your superior and I were simply having a discussion about my level of access to the college. Well, perhaps that is why you're merely an apprentice here.
Is there some kind
Nothing
of
you need to
problem?
concern yourself with. I shall be quite capable of observing everything that goes on here. Now that stability has been established between the Dominion and the Empire, we seek only to help Skyrim, to guide its people through this time of transition, to help lead them to a better future.
Guide, huh?
I am an advisor to the Archmage. The Thalmor wish to promote relations with your college. I am at the Archmage's disposal if he requires advice. Perhaps not as often as he should. In time, I believe he will be more trusting.
Interesting. A little weird, huh? No, there's a bench. Let's see. Investigate. Let's go this way.
What you learn here will last you a lifetime. Several if you're talented.
It's right here. Okay.
Initially, you'll be learning from Tolfdir, one of our most esteemed wizards.
Lady, come back here for a second.
After I finish showing you the grounds, we can talk.
Okay. Are you showing me the grounds right now? I'm following you. Yeah, guess I'm supposed to follow it.
Tolfdir is likely already addressing the new apprentices. Go on in, and if you have any problems, let one of our senior members know.
Tour completed.
Even with the college's laid-back attitude, there are still some things that are off limits.
Okay. And it's these focal points. Nice. You gotta go back there. Hey, there you are.
You know, they say knowledge is its own reward. Illusion, really, is the least appreciated of the schools of magic.
Alright. I've cleansed the focal points.
Yes, they have.
I don't know what the hell that
I can
means.
feel the difference already. But, of course, I'm
Kinda
far
gross.
more in tune with these sorts of things than most. Thank you. I appreciate your assistance.
That's kind of gross. Okay.
I shall explain to you the mysteries of the Outer Realms.
For a price, right? Yeah, that's it.
Until next time.
Alright, well, I completed a mission.
Divine smile on you, friend. If only I could be free of the mundane, day-to-day activities life so often requires.
Mhm. Holy crap, that's awesome. Staff from Mage Sleep? Nah,
Good afternoon.
let's sleep.